edit it out. Let's start over. Hi guys, welcome to my channel, or if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. My name is Carrie and I make videos about panning makeup, conscious beauty consumption, all of that fun stuff. So if you missed my Nightmare on Panning Straight intro, I will have that linked in the description box below, but it's also my last video and my only other panning video as of now, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. I'd love if you gave it a look. Today we're going to be talking about my Pan Those Eyeshadows project. This is technically going to serve as my introduction, but I have actually been doing this project for at least 3 or 4 months. I'm not totally sure when I started, but because I wasn't documenting it, I'm not sure. So basically the premise for this project, everyone does it a little bit differently. My main goal is really to pan each eyeshadow I work on every month. I am considering letting myself roll things out after 30 uses, but we'll see. Everything so far, I either haven't hit 30 uses yet or I have panned it, so I haven't really had to make that decision yet. I will show you what I have already panned within this project. Currently, I have 699 eyeshadows within all of my palettes. That's not counting single shadows, and I have panned 7. And not all 7 of those were in this project. Some of them I had panned beforehand, but I will show you what I've used intentionally in this project so far. But first, let's start with what I'm currently using in the project. The most recent color that I rolled in is from this Revolution Pro HD Amplified 35 palette. A ton of neutral shades in here. I rolled in shadow number 32, which is actually this sort of like gray silver shade. I'll go ahead and swatch it for you. I only rolled this in a few days ago, so I've actually only used it once, and it's not a shade that I would normally gravitate towards. And this is what the swatch looks like. So like I said, I've only used it one time, but that is the most recent roll-in. Before that, I rolled in a shade from my Too Faced White Peach palette. I'm working on the shade Peach Smoothie. You can see maybe a little bit of usage on it. In terms of how much I've used it in the project, because of course I've used these shadows outside of the project, I have used this 9 times, and it's really just this matte light pink shade. I use it often as a transition color. You can probably barely see it there, but I have mixed feelings about this palette in general. I feel like the eyeshadows are very powdery, so sometimes it feels like it makes it a little bit difficult for other eyeshadows to stick on my eyes once I've used this. And since I am often using this as kind of a transition base type color, I notice that a lot. I'm gonna keep using it just to see, but part of me is like, maybe I should declutter this palette if that's sort of the issue that I'm having. But like I said, I don't want to make any like super quick decisions. I'm going to keep using this and figure out how I feel about it. Moving into some shades that have been in this project a little bit longer. This is my NYX Away We Glow Hooked on Glow palette. I rolled in shade number 3, which is this sort of bronzy gold color. I use this often as a lid shade, and I have been finding it's a little bit difficult to pan. It's a pretty densely packed eyeshadow, and you'll see of the eyeshadows that I have panned so far, it's a lot of darker shades that I've used really pinpointed crease brushes or eyeliner brushes with, and it's a little bit easier to hit pan that way. But I do like this shade, and it is called, or I already told you what it's called. It actually doesn't have a name, but I have used it 13 times so far in the project. Okay, now we're getting to the last 2 palettes that are currently in the project, or eyeshadows rather, and they have been in the project the longest. First is from my Wet n Wild Cosmic Collision palette, and it's shade number 2, which is this white gold sort of iridescent shade. It is very pigmented. It's a very thick eyeshadow, and I'm finding it pretty difficult to pan. I do have a little bit of a dip, but I really only use this like in my inner corner for the most part, because even as a lid shade it feels a little too light. So this is the only one I'm considering so far rolling out at 30 uses. I have 22 uses on it so far, and I just don't feel like I'm close. So we'll see once I get to that 30 uses if I feel like a couple more would do it, or if it's just like gonna be double that to pan it, but for now, this is in the project. And the last shade that I have currently in the project is from my Emily Edit the Once palette, and I'm gonna try not to blind you with this ginormous mirror, but it is the shade Pizzazz. So I know I'm holding it upside down, but trying to hide that mirror. So this one right here, it's kind of a really unique color because it looks like some kind of purpley mauve tone, but once I swatch it, you'll see it's kind of like got like an orange sort of undertone. It's really pretty. I do find I have a little trouble getting it to show up on my eyes. It helps to either use it wet or to use a really dense like packing brush. But I have used that one so far 19 times. I think I can probably hit pan on it, but it's just like that NYX shadow where I've used it so many times, but it's just not making really even a dent because it is such a densely packed shadow that is really best for eyelids. So these are my current shades in the project. It's kind of a weird color scheme. It's only one matte. So I really don't use all these colors together like ever. I think I've done it one time. I really incorporate them into other looks. So it may be a little slow going getting all of those panned just because I'm not using them all at the same time super consistently. I'm still holding this palette because I'm going to go ahead and show you the shadows that I have already panned as a part of this project, and one of them did come from this palette. So I will show you that now. The shade is Pi-Fi. You can probably see the little bit of pan there, and I'll go ahead and swatch it on my other hand. This was a great eyeshadow to have in this project because it is a dark matte, so it really anchored a lot of the looks. I used it as eyeliner and as like a outer corner shade and felt like it worked really well for both of those purposes. Another shadow that I panned as a part of this project is from my Too Faced Best Year Ever 2018 palette. Yes, I know it's from 2018. I believe I talked about it in my last video. I use makeup until it seems gross, it smells, the texture changes. I just don't feel like it's worth throwing out if the product hasn't changed. I know everyone feels really differently about that, and that's why it's great we all have different faces that we can treat differently. But the shade that I panned in this palette is this Plum Pudding shade. This one was almost a confusing shadow to use because you couldn't really use it in the crease. It's a really pigmented, like sort of burgundy shade. It does have that little bit of like orange undertone, kind of like Pizzazz, so they looked really nice together, but it was hard to find a use for it that wasn't like outer corner crease where I struggle at least to put shimmers. But it was a really pretty shade. I used it as a nail polish one time, and yeah, I'm glad that I have pan in it. And then my very last eyeshadow, or should I say very first, because this is the first shade I hit pan on in this project, comes from my ABH Prism palette, and it is the shade Osiris. It's kind of this like blue black shimmer color. This was another one I definitely used in the outer corner a lot, but even more than that, I feel like I used this as an eyeliner. It was pretty fun because it's so dark that it just kind of comes off as a normal eyeliner, but because of those blue reflex, it gave it a little bit of interest, and since I have blue eyes, I felt like it made them pop a little bit. So really enjoyed using up that shade. I'm thinking I'm going to try to do like mid-month updates for this project. I know a lot of people restart when they hit January. I think I might keep going instead of just re-rolling because I am like in the middle of panning so many of these shades. But my plan is to update you in the middle of December and let you know where I'm at with these and roll any new shades in if I do hit pan. So let me know if you want to see that, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.